Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Astrology Podcast with your intrepid star guide APM. Hello star people, and our brief journey through archetypal astrology has brought us to the signs, the houses, the planets, and the story they could possibly be telling us all as we understand ourselves or comprehend ourselves better. Today's episode is on the lunar nodes or archetypal pathways of soul evolution. Before we get to that, some housekeeping. Follow us on Instagram, Pinterest and YouTube. The links are in the show notes. And please subscribe to the Daily Stargazer newsletter for more of the daily transit type astrology. Link will also be in the show notes. And please like, share and particularly review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube because it helps others find us. And now, on with the program. Alrighty, so today we're going to be looking into, as I've said, the lunar nodes as archetypal gateways. And what the lunar nodes are basically, they're not in Western astrology seen as planets as they are in Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology as practiced in India, which sees them as planets. In Western astrology lineages, lunar nodes are points in space, and they are the intersection of the sun, moon, and earth paths. Okay, so the north node is the seeker archetype. That's our evolutionary calling. That's where we're going to. The south node is the keeper archetype, and that's our accumulated wisdom. That's where we're coming from. And so when we are expanding, growing, evolving, we are going towards some place and walking away, as figuratively speaking, from another point. So you might see this as the Fool or the Seeker archetype in Tarot, which we will be getting to in future episodes. We will get into Tarot because it's very archetypal and also has astrological associations. But keeping on point, it's rather like that Fool archetype. The small little branch with the kerchief full of whatever a fool might need. Traveling light is a good way of seeing that, or having a few strengths for which to draw upon, which is what the South Node is about. Now, the nodes are a cosmic axis of purpose, so basically they can be seen as harmonizing past patterns with future evolutionary growth. And so a nodic cycle can go as far as 18.6 years of development. That's almost 17 years. The minute I said that, I thought of number 17, the star card, which is a card of optimism, hope, and renewal after a dark period. And so the nodes can differ from planets because they're points of integration rather than planetary energies. Okay? So the next thing to think about is, current nodal axis is in Pisces, Virgo. North node Pisces, south node Virgo. We'll get back to that in a moment, but let's look at the nodal axis as we see them in signs and houses. So, the north node through Aries, for example, we are learning to be independent, to go our own way, to follow the path with heart. And that always takes courage because we live in a world with other people, and those other people are definitely going to have ideas, morals, values, mores that are different from our own, that make them want to speak up because they're thinking, okay, this might run counter to my own self-interest, which is usually the case. And so Aries is learning to stand up for itself and have courage. That's the Aries North Node. Taurus is learning to go at their own pace. They have a rhythm, they have a pace, and they're not to be knocked out of that rhythm, knocked out of that pace. They're here to enjoy what life has to offer, what the smorgasbord offers. They're here to enjoy that, but they're also here to be practical. And I would say grounded. embodied experience. You still have a body, even though you do have potentially a soul, a spirit, etc., even akasha, etc. You might have those things, but you still have a body, and that body is still grounded in the physical world, and Taurus grounds us in the physical world, and we have possessions, we have things, and we have strengths, and we have resources, etc. And so Taurus is learning how to move at its own pace and to embody, to find comfort in their own skin, to find comfort in their own perspective, their own life, to be able to trust that inner part of themselves that maybe other people don't always understand. It's embodied and trusting what their body knows, what their gut knows to be true, okay? Especially if the moon is placed here, but we're talking about the North Node. If the moon is also placed here, that would strengthen that, because these nodes are mathematical points, as I've said. But we're looking at Gemini. We're looking at an energy that is curious, inquisitive, and it's meant to run down, ask all the questions, and run down all the information. Now, from the outside, that may look scattered to others, but Gemini energy, that's scattered, that messy, let me point something out. Evolution feels messy, looks messy, and Gemini embodies that messiness. They are impartial to the point that they can look at any perspective without feeling the need to project their own biases on it. Now, a character that embodies this would be Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. He wanted all of the info and didn't have biases to project onto anything, so he could see things as clearly as one could see things without having the ability to have emotions to make a decision. But his decisions would be impartial. He was curious, he was inquisitive, he ran things down, but he didn't have as many biases. And so that is the evolutionary perspective of a Gemini North Node. Cancer North Nodes are about belonging, about our roots, and about emotional intelligence. Learning to use our emotions to navigate. And Leo energy, which follows Cancer energy, is I am statements. I am this, period. I am identifying with this thing. It's creation, it's being playful, and yes, being proud enough of our accomplishments, but more to the point, who we are, because that, in and of itself, makes it easier to navigate. It grounds us and makes it easier to navigate, so we can shine our light out there to whomever that beacon is meant to reach. Virgo energy is discerning and analytical. It has an ideal that it's holding to. It's measuring against an ideal and moving toward that ideal. So this energy is healer, archetypal, archetypal, but healer energy, advocate energy, that sort of thing. They're here to improve things. This isn't working so efficiently. How can we make that so? Libra energy are the bridge builders, the peacemakers, the tacticians, the strategists, the diplomats. They're building bridges. They're not supposed to, per se, form an absolute and fixed opinion. They're air. They're meant to be cool and to be able to pull back and be able to see both sides of an argument the same way a Gemini can, and to be able to build a bridge between two perspectives. Scorpio energy is meant to be passionate and intense. They're meant to look at the underbelly of things that other people tend to not want to acknowledge or to see. They are also more tender, internalized energy in that they're guarding their inner world, because that inner world is a special place. It's a magical place, and only few people who are willing to do what is necessary are allowed in. Consider, if any of you if you're into Marvel, like I am, and think about that first Marvel film where Doctor Strange appears on the doorstep of the Ancient One and says, "Teach me." And the Ancient One says, "No," and tosses him back outside. That is scorpionic energy. You're not, you have to prove your worth in here. You have to show me a pattern of behavior that says this commitment is worth the time. Because Scorpio energy is deep energy. It wants depth, it wants intimacy, and it's not interested in superficialities. Sagittarius energy, when it's the North Node, is all about exploring. It's all about frameworks and exploring different frameworks from different perspectives, whether that be religion or philosophy or even higher learning, because higher learning also is a form of framework. Law is a form of framework, for example. So it's looking at individual frameworks as expansions to expand upon and to expand toward, or even over at some point. So Sagittarius energy is all about, like Gemini energy, asking the questions, just asking them from a place of experience, from a place of holistic, looking at the big picture. Capricorn energy is, there is a goal, an objective, an intention, and that intention determines what choices will or will not be made. A person is in very pragmatic, methodical type energy, and there is a very well-defined goal that is the North Star or the guiding light here. And they're meant to follow that and work toward that, and that objective is similar to an ideal for a Virgo. They're moving toward that objective the way a Virgo is always measuring their actions, their activities, the way they move through life to an ideal. They have that in common. And Aquarius is cool-headed. It's an air sign. It is impartial, it is scientific, it is also progress-oriented, what is happening in the future. But it also has its energy also tapped into the past, because a scientifically minded Aquarius must be looking to patterns of the past and how they fell out, and how those patterns of the past could possibly, potentially affect the future. And so we're looking at Aquarius type energy, we're looking at like Star Trek-y type energy is how I would see it. It is looking at an optimistic view, a secular view of a future in which the framework is entirely scientific, entirely extraterrestrial even. And we're looking at the visionary. We're looking at not specifically utopias, more of a egalitarian, secular, equal society where everybody's needs, the basic needs, are taken care of. That would be more of a humanitarian vibe as well. That's very Aquarius. That's a vision. And then we get to Pisces North Node. And the Pisces North Node is about being the wisdom knower. To know without knowing how you know. All the experiences will tend to be ego-dissolving experiences, very mystical experiences, to defy classification, to defy the ability to classify, to categorize, and to bind. Because Pisces energy is also guided by Neptune, and Neptune is spiritual, mystical, and any planets in this archetypal game and story are always about dissolving what limits us, dissolving boundaries put forth by Saturn. So that is Pisces North Node energy. Now, the South Node is familiar archetypal patterns that we're growing towards. So, looking at Aries in the South Node, we're growing beyond these things. So, South Node, we're already independent. We are already courageous. We've bumped up against quite a few things in our life, and that's easy for us. We're moving toward the Libra South Node. So, North Node. So, Aries South Node has already got that Aries energy in check. Taurus South Node already knows how to embody, already knows how to move at their own pace, already knows how to dot I's, dot I's, loop D's, and etc. It knows how to be grounded. It knows how to be embodied. It is comfortable in its own skin. Gemini South Node is already inquisitive, curious, and able to lean into details. Already knows how to do that. It's moving towards something else. Cancer South Node already is emotionally intelligent, is an emotional adept, is moving toward moving toward more of the Capricorn vibe. Leo South Node is playful, creative. It doesn't change. It's just this is the energy that is already in play. Virgo is discerning, already discerning. Those are strengths. Is idealistic, likes to help, loves to be efficient, wants to improve things. These are natural abilities that feel easeful to lean into for all of the South Node. And if we're looking at Libra, Libra South Nodes already know how to build bridges. They know how to play the devil's advocate. They know how to step back from conflicts and harmonize the energies in the room. Scorpio South Node is already intense, already embodied, already aware of their inner world, and already, a bit guarded because, I want to see a pattern of behavior. I want to look first and analyze the situation, investigate first to make certain that my inner world will be received well and that it is safe for me to do so. So, psychoanalysis is very, self-reflection is very important to a Scorpio South Node. They know how to do that already. It feels natural and therefore easeful. Sagittarius is already, South Nodes are expressive, expansive, curious. They're also inquisitive. They like the knowledge that they have to have a big picture perspective. They want whatever knowledge they have to inform their experiences. They want their experiences to be informed by what they know and what they know to inform their experiences. Capricorn South Node knows how to set an objective and move toward it and use that objective as a way of deciding yes to this, no to that. Aquarius South Nodes are already their unique self. They're already authentic. They're already quirky. They're already humanitarian in their vibe. They already know what it's like to be othered, to be a token. That's a thing I didn't mention with Aquarian North Nodes. They're going to learn about that, whereas the South Node already knows about it. And Pisces South Nodes already know what they know what they know. They are idealistic too. They are imaginative, creative, and compassionate. These are natural abilities. They have that, and they are learning, they're learning the Virgo aspects. So you have to consider North and South Nodes together, not separately. So if you're a Capricorn North Node, you already have the ability, unless the rest of the chart says differently, to be able to be emotionally intelligent, to be able to form connections, deep emotional connections with people, is, the goal. So if we've got, Capricorn North Node learning how to set an objective and move toward it, they already know how to be emotionally intelligent. They know how to connect with people on a emotional level. If we put that Capricorn in the South Node, then they know how to set an objective. They know how to go out into the world and move and shake. They're learning to be emotionally intelligent because, shockingly, moving and shaking tends to upset people because sometimes they get moved out of the way or they get shook out of out of their everyday cage, and they don't always like that. And so learning to be emotionally intelligent allows one to interact with people and to soothe people when necessary, and to allow them to step back and allow people to be able to deal with their own feelings when that is also necessary. So if we're looking at these nodal axes as moving through the houses, our soul's evolution is playing out in different life domains. That's what houses are. So if you're looking at, and this is a much longer one, we're looking at first an Aries going through, and this is probably going to be a much longer episode. I'm going to have to do another one, I see, for this. But if we're looking at these are just the domains. Now recall, if you see any of the nodal accesses in the first and seventh house, you're looking at us and other. If you have and I'm going to speak very broadly here. If you have your north node in the first house and your south node in the seventh, the emphasis is more on your identity rather than focusing on others and their needs. If you make this an Aries Libra sensation, you're learning Aries North Node, Libra South Node. You're learning how to, stand up for yourself, sort out who you are, what you think, and to be independent, to experience emergence. The focus is on you and how you want to impact the world. And less of a focus and more of a strength is the ability to get on well with others. If you flip that and you put Libra in the first house, then we are looking at that ability to get on well with, Libra energy is focusing that part of us within ourselves that is the peacemaker. And the other part would be, if we put the south node in, let's change this because I'm realizing it doesn't make any sense to me. So put the south node in Libra in the first house, and we put the Aries north node across the way. The south node, we already have a peacemaking vibe. We don't need more of a peacemaking vibe. We already have that. We're moving more toward that others energy. And others may come across as very courageous and independent. We might have clashes with them, particularly if our ascendant is really close here and there's a planet on the other side of the descendant on that point, in addition to the north node. The north node in Aries. So if we're looking at that energy is independent, courageous. Sometimes it may come across as an opposition type energy with limits, and other times we might look at people and project onto them our own independence, our own courageous spirit, because we're going to tend to see in others with greater ease some of the time than we see it within ourselves. And if we're looking at, say, Taurus, and we're looking at second and eighth houses, and we've got Taurus, Scorpio hanging out. Well, we do. If we got that north node energy going on, we've got Taurus north node learning about how to use right relationship to one's resources, to one's strengths, one's abilities. What do you have? And the south node in Scorpio would be very much about how to use resources, shared resources, not necessarily just marriage, for example, a partner, shared resources, how you might respond to that. Scorpio energy tends to be very analytical, likes depth, and so would be looking at past experiences to ascertain how to use those resources that they share with others. And if you flip it and you put the south node in the second house in Scorpio and flip the other to Taurus in the eighth, we are going to be looking at Scorpionic, looking deep into what do I have? What what is what is self-esteem, what is self-worth, what are the resources I have? More of an in-depth, I like it nailed down type of energy. Whereas Taurus, comfortable in your own skin kind of thing, would be, yes, I'm very grounded. Yes, I want to dot those I's and cross those T's. What do we have? What is mine? What is yours? What do we have? Etc. Now, if we're looking at the 3-9 vibe, which is third house, ninth house, we got Gemini hanging out in the third, and we got Sag in the ninth. North Node in the third house is about being curious. It's about local, where we are locally. And also sometimes our early childhood. It's about being curious, about asking all the questions. What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? And a big picture perspective, the South Node, provides a big picture perspective. So that means that North Node in Gemini already has a big picture perspective. They don't need to acquire one, which is, if we flipped it and we put the North Node in Sagittarius here and the South Node in Gemini, the person has a big picture vibe and is getting more specific. Okay, I've got a big picture. How do I color this in? And if we look at the fourth house, Cancer, Capricorn, 410, Cancer, learning to be emotionally intelligent. 10th house, Capricorn, North Node, South Node, we already know how to set objectives. We know how to go out into the world and move. We're learning to be more emotionally intelligent. We've got Cancer, North Node. If we flip it, Capricorn, North Node, and Cancer, South Node, 10th, 410 still, we're learning, we are learning how to be caring, nurturing, and emotionally intelligent out there in the world, whereas here in our fourth house, we have objectives, we have an intention we're moving toward. And if we're looking at 5 and 11, which would be Leo, Aquarius, Leo North Node is very inner circle. It's very, I am me, I am this, I am not that. I am this, I am that, I am this. I am proud to be this. I like to be acknowledged. I like recognition. I want to be seen and heard. I want to shine like the sun. And that South Node is, yeah, but other people don't have it this lucky. There are quirks, that people are eccentric, people are unique. There are other people out there not doing as well. It's not equal for everybody. And so Aquarius South Node would be a social critic because it's in the 11th house of community, looking around at friends and having differences of perspective with different people from different walks of life in the community, which makes them question things. Now, if you flip it and you put Leo in the South Node, you put the South Node, flip it over there, Leo, and we put the Aquarius North Node in the fourth, we got someone who feels like an outsider, knows what that's like on a very intense personal basis. So if we're looking at Leo North, Aquarius South, and we flip it to Aquarius in the North Node and Leo in the South, South Node is, I know how to shine my light with my friends and my compatriots. And I know how to do that already. I already know how to be playful and creative and authentic, invite everybody else to do. So I'm seen and heard the way that I want to be seen and heard. And that Aquarius North Node is, but I kind of feel a little bit like a black sheep kind of energy. I am learning that not everybody gets to have it like this. That I am being pushed to look at the world and to look at society and to make comments from a very cool-headed place. And 6th house, 12th house, we are looking at still that energy back and forth. We got the Virgo, we got the Pisces. And so Virgo, Pisces, we put Virgo in the North Node, Pisces South. Virgo in the North Node is learning to be analytical and discerning. And that south node is idealistic, fantastical, outside of the realm of what you can taste, touch, smell. It's not about always improving things. It's about looking beyond that improvement and knowing what you know when you know it without knowing how you know. And if you flip it and you put that south node, you move Pisces north node to the 6th house, and you put that Virgo south node into the 12th house. Well, now this person north node is learning how to be more fantastical, more creative, more compassionate, more empathetic, and they already have the strengths of being discerning, because the 12th house is what is hidden. You can't always see. And so this person and other people may not always notice, and it may surprise people when this person is very discerning and very, still learning about things. Very discerning, still learning about things, still trying to sort things out type of energy. So we're looking at Virgo energy. We have an ideal. We already know how to set an ideal and measure things against that ideal. Yes, no, this, not that. That's the type of energy. Okay, so we're going to step into angular houses and cadent houses because it's a different intensity of these experiences. Angular houses are initiatory. They're bam, they're intense. Cadent houses are a little calmer. So you might see an angular house as waxing and a cadent house as waning kind of energy. And so nodal placements tend, how we interact with planetary rulers, it makes it more complex. So I'm going to give an example or two before I start to wrap things up. So, as we're creating nodal placements with planetary rulers and all that stuff, you're looking at, let's say, for example, we're looking at that 6th house, Virgo, Pisces. We've got the south node in Virgo, the north node in Pisces, which means, and right now Neptune is in Aries currently, as of this recording, and so that's a new chapter mystically, spiritually for that Pisces north node. So the questions would be, what do I need to surrender? What new perspective can I, even if it's imaginative, what wisdom do I have to share, to keep? What do I know without knowing that I know it, or how I know it, for example? And Neptune in Aries and currently retrograde is an opportunity to pause any assumptions and to look deeper, because this energy is a new chapter mystically, emotionally, on a very deep level, with that north node happening in the 6th house. And so that 6th house is the everyday, our rituals. So this is going to be an everyday experience that Neptune is going to be guiding. Okay? And so currently, as I said, the north node is in Pisces, south node in Virgo. So these are collective themes of value and transformation. This is as of July 2025, which is when I'm recording this. But you will be hearing me in the future. Okay? So these are the types of energies that we will be working with. Now, if we're looking at the story of our evolution, here are some things to consider. If you want to identify your nodal story, you start with reading the archetypal pattern of your journey. You want to know where your nodes are by house, by sign, by element. You want to balance those energies. So you want to, the whole point of the thing is you're going to, it's just living, you're going to always be measuring, balancing the north node's comfort zone, because that's our comfort zone, and north node challenges. The south node will be our comfort zone, the north node will be our challenges. Sometimes we're going to want to stay with the the south node, because we really like to be comfortable, and sometimes the north node's exciting challenges will also provide us with a bit more, a little bit more, which we might get very addicted to, because it does happen. Human beings do have addictive behaviors, and sometimes that north and south node is constantly in movement. There is never a sweet spot of perfect balance. That's something to consider. So practical techniques for working with nodal tensions, I would suggest meditation, journaling, and coming up with rituals. however that might look. Now, finding a middle path between the nodes is a challenge because you're looking for integration rather than polarization, and the whole point is there are going to be relapses when you make changes. There's going to be times when you're going to be on it and times when that on it is just not going to be there. Integration is a process, not a destination, so it's never going to be perfect. It's going to be messy because evolution looks and feels messy. So when you're looking at transits to the nodes, when you're seeing like Jupiter is in Cancer right now, so there isn't currently a transit. But if we're looking at, say, the Sun in Pisces, the Moon in Pisces, or any of the planets hanging out in Pisces or in Virgo, as things currently are, those are going to be transits. That's the story of the stars right now, and that activates our nodes. And the planet on the node will give you an idea of the kind of themes the themes and keywords, themes, and questions we should be asking. So when the moon is in Pisces, we're going to be looking at safety needs, and perhaps self-compassion and empathy, because we do live in a world that likes comfort, that likes conformity, and Piscean energy is a bit otherworldly. So where are we otherworldly? Where are we being perceived otherworldly? Where might we need empathy and self-compassion for ourselves when we are a bit more ungrounded? Because Pisces energy can unground, and that's the whole point of being a Pisces, is learning to curate energies, meaning people and spaces that you find yourself in. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up because I could go on for quite a while. It's very fascinating. So key insights about the nodes as archetypal pathways of evolution is that it's not fixed. It is not absolute. There is always going to be messiness. There will always be a need to adjust. Practical applications, finding your nodal axis, finding strengths and challenges, and to be compassionate about that. Okay, this is what Pisces energy is like, but that does not necessarily mean it's wrong. It just means this is how Pisces energy operates. Water flows. You don't expect it to act like fire or air or earth, for example. So, call to action, please join our newsletter community for personalized nodal insights. And we have got, we're going to be doing one more on this archetypal energy, and the next one we will be talking about is transits in archetypal astrology. Thank you very much, star people, for hanging out to listen. Check out us on Pinterest and YouTube, and thank you very much for being here. I will see you next time. Peace and astro magic.